Alright, I'm back. Last time we notated the piano part of the Left Hand Song by Regina Spektor. Since then I've taken a break, I had a little snack, drank some water, and went on a little walk. Now I'm recharged and I'm ready to do the vocals. So the thing about... Oh, where am I? I'm off in the grey Netherlands over here. The thing about pop songs and notating the vocals is that usually for the verse you'll have some general idea of a melody and then the rhythm, and sometimes the notes also get varied melody to melody to fit the lyrics. So actually that's something it took me a long time to learn as a songwriter, that um, you don't have to play the melody, don't have to write the melody the exact same way every verse. You can have some variation. Um, and having the variation, number one, makes the song more interesting, and number two actually gives you less constraints for the lyrics to fit a certain rhythmic pattern, which makes it easier to write lyrics too. So it's a good strategy to know and just to take note of. I did the intro before for the vocal parts, and then I decided I was just going to go do the piano for the rest. So this shouldn't take too long. I think all we really need to do is get the verse once. We'll see what Regina is doing, and then we'll decide what to do. So let's go ahead and listen. I'll just notate the first verse. Too much time spent. She's basically doubling the melody in the left hand. So too much, but not exactly. Time spent. Spent is short. So it's like a little variation. The original melody in the left hand has this. I need to hear that. You probably heard that, but I didn't hear that. And then that's the piano part and the voice. So we play them together. So one thing that does is it highlights which notes are the most important in the melody, right? These two notes right here, ba ba bum, they're not as important as this note. They're left out of the Regina Spektor's singing part. So these are sort of like passing notes going from the F to the E flat. Yeah, that's one thing. And then she mimics the piano again. Trying to call into a hole. That's right here. Oops. And then again, well, no, this is a little bit different. Into a hole. Trying to climb out of the hole. Of that hole. And this is the kind of thing where the particular rhythm might change even performance to performance. There's also the kind of thing that if I wanted to sing this myself, it's starting to get low for a guy. A G flat, oh, that's too low for me. So I would have to transpose this, which is fine. That's part of being a singer, right? Is finding a key for the song to fit your voice as best as it can. Depends on if you want to challenge your range or if you want it to sound as good as it can sound. So in here, you're already even starting to see variations of the melody, right? You've got this, it starts, no, it doesn't start there. Oh, there's another line. It starts right here. You've got this one melody that gets repeated. Da 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 dun dun da 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 dun da da boom. So that's one way you can vary a melody is by using the same notes but using slightly different rhythms. So let's hear the beautiful choir rendition of the first verse. Oh, I put these in the right hand of the piano, which might actually sound better, honestly. And this is I forget what it's called. It's like the opposite of an anticipation, where you hold out the note longer than the downbeat where you expect it to fall and then just play it later. It's one way of, it's almost like playing with the tempo, but you don't necessarily have to change the tempo to do it. It just sort of, this is the kind of thing Regina Spektor does all the time. That's why her music sounds so playful. She's playing with the timing and your expectations and stuff like that. All right, so what's going on after this? I followed a path of a piece of bread traveling from one little sparrow's beak to another little sparrow's beak. Yeah, I mean, it's just a repetition, but a variation. So the difference is here, it didn't skip. Remember the first melody? This one was. She actually played these notes. Listen for it. Oops. Here. And then here, it's all the same. Before it was, but here, the second time it's from a little sparrow's beak to another little sparrow's beak, I think. But the point is, once she lands on this F, before she was singing the notes afterwards at the F until she goes back to the. Instead of doing this sort of like dance from the A flat to the F, now she's kind of ending the phrase on the F, lifting up, starting a new phrase, even before the end of the next measure on the A flat. Another little sparrow's beak. And she's doing that because of the lyrics, right? From another sparrow's beak to another little sparrow's beak. To another is part of the next line. So she ends the phrase where the line ends, picks up the beginning of a new phrase before the beginning of the next measure to follow the line, the lyric. That's all I have to say about that. I don't think it's worth notating really because it's pretty much the same. Picked it up, flew with it, then dropped it, then
this other one picked it up and flew it again, and then they broke it to pieces, ate it up and forgot that it ever existed.
Oh, I didn't notice that. This time there's some sort of the same thing where they hold the note longer and go past the beginning of the measure. Um, Sounded like. Yeah, that it ever existed. She might be adding a beat there. I'm not sure, but. Yeah, that it ever existed. That it ever existed. That it ever existed. Interesting. But yeah, so the third verse is it's the same melody, but she's using a lot more lyrics now. Um, and so it almost becomes kind of like rappy, rapping on like a single note and then changing to the next note when the note changes in the melody. Oh, wait, let me count that actually. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I'm just wondering if because the last verse I said ended it did this one time fewer, but now I'm wondering if it actually didn't do it one time fewer. It's just that the melody was varied. Two, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. No, that one ended at 2. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Yeah. No, despite that, it still ended on 1 instead of ending on 2. So nothing needs to really be changed there. It's just a variation of the melody, but the structure remains the same. Okay. So I'm going to choose not to notate that because it's to me not kind of trivial. But if this is something you're just starting, it's probably a good practice to notate all 3 versions, and it'll really just help you spell out how she made these variations. So it's always good to see examples of that to give you ideas in your own songwriting. But let's move on to the bridge.
still hungry. At the end, they were still hungry. They were still hungry. At the end, they were still hungry. Still hungry. At the end, they were still hungry. Got that it ever says again. They were still hungry. At the end, they were still hungry. At the end, I was inside my mother's at the time.
All right, I wanted to get the trills there. So they were so hungry. They're like triplet trills. Da da da. Where does it fall on the beat?
I was inside, they were still hungry, and they broke into pieces.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Starts on 2. That's what I thought. This is a quarter note triplet. Bum bum. Tuplet. Triplet. And it's B flat. It's higher than she's been singing so far. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. B-A-D. That's 2/8 notes, right? Blah blah blah. It's gonna sound awful when the gets played by the choir, because the choir attack is real slow, so can't play fast notes.
Ate it up and forgot that it ever says again. They were still hungry. At the end, they were still hungry. And I
Yep.
was inside my mother's at the time, and I got real scared. Thought I saw two snakes slithering.
Let's listen to it. Well, that sounded fine, but the reason is because it was in the piano. Cool. And then we've got the same sort of thing going on. Verse. What I want to notate is when she, the next one, where she like improvs.
Snakes don't live in carpeted areas. Too much time.
That is what I want to know how to do. That's what I'm going to notate. So that happens at the verse where it goes back into the left hand. It's B flat. And then it's kind of debatable whether it was a quarter note or an eighth note. It's just kind of on its own time, so it doesn't matter too much. Too much time. Question is, what is that second note? Time. I don't think it's a. It might be a B flat. Oh no. I don't need UI books. I've never opened you in my life. It's a A. That's really interesting. She puts the A natural in there. Too much time. And it's dotted. Where do they fall? Falls on the end of one. Of course it does. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. So end of one and then end of two. So this is end of one, end of two. Not sure if I have the. Yeah, I messed that up. I started counting at double the pace I was counting at before. Or half the pace, I believe. Yeah, half the pace. So I counted at half the pace. I notated it too quickly, and then when I heard it, it was too fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a 3. So if it's an and a 3 and it starts at and a 1, it needs to be half note long. But we don't want to write it as a half note because it's starting on an offbeat. So we want to write it as a eighth note tied to a quarter note tied to an eighth note. And then what happens next? One, two, three, four, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's on the end of 2 to 3. Alright, let's see if that's right so far. Yeah, sounds right to me. One, two, three, four, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it's just on the 2. So we get to put the whole half note tied to a quarter note. And then the question is, how long does she hold the B flat? All, halfway through the E flat measure. It's a long note. Spend. So it's a D flat. Yep. So what she's doing with the A natural there is the B flat minor should have an A flat in it, right? The minor 7th, but she's playing the major 7th over it. So no, that's not right. So that's like a jazzy note because jazz is based off the melodic minor, which has a major 7th in it. So she's just throwing that in there, despite the fact that she's even playing A flat in the bass right here. It doesn't happen at the same place where she's playing the A natural. So that's fine, but she's pretty much just playing outside of the key in a really harsh sounding way. But the notes are really quick, so it doesn't really sound like it's too out there. It just sounds a little funky, which I really liked. Let's listen to that again so you could hear what I'm talking about. It's those fast notes. Ah. And I'm spent. Doing some funky things here. Which part is it? The F1. I think it's a quarter note. And does she hold it out or just is it a quick note? I forget. It's held out. And I'm Is it on 3 or 4? I think it ended on 4 or on 3. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. It ended on 2 actually. That's what I meant, 2 or 3 actually originally, but I'm spent. She sort of like drops down spent. So why I find this part interesting is because you expect, or at least I expect, she's anchoring on this B flat. So you'd think this should come right on the note, on the beat on 1, and this should be like a pickup note on beat 4 of the previous measure. You also expect this should come on the measure. So she's totally exaggerating the thing I was talking about earlier about holding out notes a little bit too long, to the point where the entire phrase has been shifted over 1. So it's almost like the voice is operating with the measure shifted over 1 beat. Let's listen to that again.
There is an old meatball wrapped inside a tin foil. Yeah, lying on the bottom shelf of our fridge. A lesson in how fleeting preservation is.
Alright, everything else is the same except for this yeah part, which I already mentioned in the previous video, is just making chords with the left hand notes. And she's minor third above the left hand. So we've got a G flat, an F, and an E flat. It's pretty common way to voice a 2-part harmony is to do it in minor thirds like this. Yep, and the rest is the same. So let me just copy over the original melody into the rest of these verses, and we can have a full-on listen. See if it sounds reasonable or not. Hope everybody's day's been going well. Week, month. I think the last video I made was like 6 months ago. But I can intend to continue doing these. Yeah, I started a new job since then, and I had a lot of music I wanted to record, which I got recorded. So it wasn't like I was doing nothing. I just was busy with lots of things going on in life. And that's gonna happen. Oh, did I write over anything? No, I didn't. But the main thing is to not get discouraged. Like, let's say you have a plan, a long-term plan, and you don't follow it out completely. You have to accept that and don't let it get you down, and just continue where you left off. You've got a lot of time in this life and plenty to make it up. Oops. This should actually go on the 3, this measure. Last one, just for kicks. I mean, she does end it on the 1 with this the last time. So a slight variation in the last melody. Let's just make sure it worked. Yep. Yep. All right, let's hear the whole thing. Oh, oops. It's a really anticlimactic ending, the way that it's quote unquote performed by this choir, so called choir. Oops, don't need to hear that again. Anyways, that's it. The song is now I know how to play the song. And now I just have to get to actually practicing the song so I can play it. Thanks for watching and hope you learned something and gain experience by following through that. And hope that you continue to do the same thing with all the songs you want to hear and learn to play. So, see you next time.